𝐒𝐏𝐻𝐍𝐒𝐎𝐑𝐒's corner, beyond Bent. Janssen! And Blackburn Rovers are 18 minutes away from a Premiership return.
As far as Stewart, just outside the penalty area, clips it central for David Dunn. David Dunn equalises! It just had to be! Dack's corner and it goes, glance towards goal! And Rovers have taken the lead! And Charlie Mulgrew has scored his 14th of the season. It may well be the goal that sends Rovers back into the Championship.
Good evening, Rovers fans, and welcome to our post-match live stream, which, without a doubt, is the hardest one that I have ever done. Another Rovers loss, but absolutely overshadowed by the horrible injury to Bradley Dack at the end of the game, which has shaken all Rovers fans that I've spoken to, all of you on the watch along, and we were just chatting before we came live as well. It's definitely put a dampener on the evening tonight. Not what I was hoping for tonight. Even if Rovers had lost the game 1-0 and Dack doesn't get injured, we're probably having a different conversation right now and a different watch along. But it's absolutely shit all over the evening tonight. So if this ends up being half an hour long, I make no apologies for that. We're just going to do some light analysis of the game, maybe talk about what happens next season, and we'll go and enjoy our evenings as best we can, because there's no point being on a live stream talking about Bradley Dack. Let's just try and salvage something from our evening, and another horrible injury for Bradley Dack, and so it looks. Just a few reminders. If you do want to call into the show, I would really appreciate you helping us out. Do give us some inspiration, because I'm struggling with this one. I'm not going to lie. That's knocked me for six, that injury to Bradley Dack at the end. And we had a great watch along up until that point as well. And it's really just put a dampener on. So please come and give us some inspiration on the show. Any points or comments that you can help us out with, send a DM to @RoversChat_, and we will get you on the show, as you've seen before as well. A big thank you to Dave Park and to Simon Slater for your super chats during the watch along. Really appreciate everyone's support tonight and all through the season as well. Thank you, Dave and Simon, for your contributions this evening. And thank you to all of you that were doing the watch along with us as well. We've got a nice roaring fire on the left image, and then lots of laptops and TVs as well. And we really appreciate you all joining us. You know, Dack's injury aside, you know, it's been really enjoyable doing the watch along once again. So thank you all for joining us. For those of you that are new to our channel, we did recently update our Twitter handle. It is @RoversChat_. So please give our Twitter account a follow if you aren't already. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, it is Rovers Chat on YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the bell notifications, and please give probably not this video a like, because it's not going to be the best, but all of our other videos a like. Please give those a like as well. But before we get started, just a couple of things. As we always say, we are sponsored by Blue Rose Capital, and we are sponsored by 𝐒𝐏𝐻𝐍𝐒𝐎𝐑𝐒. The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 𝐒𝐏𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐷.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below. Thank you to 𝐒𝐏𝐻𝐿A𝐷.com and to Blue Rose Capital for their very, very kind sponsorship this season. So the big talk is, of course, about Bradley Dack. I'm going to come on to that shortly. We're just going to get more news out of the club, etc. I know some tweets are going out, and the Rovers Chat website is pushing stuff out as well. We will come on to that in a moment. But what I'm just going to ask Alex, Glenn and Ollie to do is just sum up their thoughts on the game without talking about Bradley Dack first, because there was a game of football before that. So, Alex, I'll start with you first. You know, just sum up how you thought the game went, how you thought Rovers played, etc., before the injury, of course.
Oh, God, that's quite a difficult thing to do. I can't lie, I feel pretty numb right now. I think Glenn took the words right out of my mouth in our private chat. He said that he felt physically sick. I don't feel far behind that. If you want me to talk a bit about the game, I thought I thought the first half was pretty poor from both teams. I thought Rovers looked like they were showing the effects of playing 3 times in 6 days. We've spoken a little bit about consistency of team selection and particularly consistency of the defence, but I thought there was a few jaded players out there tonight, particularly in that first half. And I think that showed in just a few of the individual performances, just a few misplaced passes, a little bit of sloppiness that we've not seen in the last 2 games. So I think that probably contributed to going in at half-time 1-0 down. I think what can't be dismissed from the whole game is that Jeff Eltringham got the result that he wanted. I'd like to know what sum of money potentially might be placed on Brentford being promoted, but yeah, I'm absolutely staggered by that refereeing performance tonight. I cannot rationalise, make sense of the decisions tonight and the one-sided nature in which they were made. I thought there was a potential that you could claim that Brentford's was a penalty. There was certainly a coming together of knees. I know that he made a meal of it, but he certainly went down under some contact. But how you can then not deny, you can go and deny 2, in my opinion, stonewall penalties for Rovers tonight. I'm just absolutely flabbergasted. But like I say, anyone calling for VAR in the Championship needs to remember that who will actually be looking at these decisions again? It will be the same clowns that got it wrong in the first place. So I don't really see how video assistant refereeing can improve this situation when the third letter in that equation is referee, and these referees have shown themselves to be not anywhere near good enough. So yeah, I'm absolutely gutted tonight for a multitude of reasons. Obviously, I don't think you can divorce the feeling from Dack's injury from the way I'm feeling right now. I'm so upset about it and gutted about it that I can't divorce that from the way I'm feeling about the rest of tonight's game. But yeah, a more general point, I thought second half was a little bit better. I thought we kind of threw caution to the wind a little bit. We looked like we may get caught on the counter-attack a few times, but I thought with the way that we went down in the first half without really having a shot on goal of any meaning, that potentially that was really the only method in that second half. But yeah, I'm just... yeah, this one really hurts. This one really, really hurts. And I think all of our feelings, everyone associated with the club, everyone who has just any feelings of goodwill towards the club tonight, all of their thoughts are with the injured player. And yeah, I just think we're all really, really gutted about it. And I'm sorry to kind of dampen her on the mood. But yeah, that's just the way I'm genuinely feeling right now. Absolutely gutted. Absolutely gutted.
You don't need to make any apologies, Alex, because I think to a person, everyone is feeling that way. Helen, thank you for your super chat. Sad night tonight, but you lads do a great job. I did thank you earlier for bringing us Glenn Entwistle into this world. So thank you again for doing that and for your super chat. Yeah, Alex, I know it's hard to... Our mood is absolutely affected by what's happened to Bradley Dack tonight. So I deliberately just asked the question about how was the game up until that injury, but absolutely take on board and understand the point that it's hard to do that without thinking about the injury. So Glenn, I'm going to come to you. We were chatting just briefly, weren't we, just before we came live. And it felt to me tonight like Brentford had us a bit at arm's length tonight. We'll talk about the officiating in a moment, but, you know, the ball's gone in the back of the net. They've got a penalty. They are 1-0 up after 10 minutes. It did feel like they had us at arm's length. They had us where they wanted us, particularly in the first half. And we had a couple of chances in the second half, but just felt like if they wanted to, they could have turned it on. So ultimately, it's another one of those games where Rovers have conceded first and lost, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I got the impression they kind of started bright. Like Alex said, I thought we were quite poor in the first half. We were really slow. We never really got going. It did feel a bit leggy, a bit tired, and I suppose to a degree that's to be expected given the number of games. But then I'm the person that's been saying keep the same 11, so I can't really criticise that. But yeah, second half it was better. I did question kind of changing both Brereton and Gallagher at the same time. I thought that's two quite big changes fundamentally in how we play. That's not kind of dicing with which way we're playing. We're not going to lump it long. We're going to get it down and we're going to play it. But we created opportunities in the second half. I just felt like if we got one after 70 minutes, they'd get a second. And some of those offside decisions that weren't given, I think there were some tight decisions that weren't given. Who knows how that goes once you go 1-0 and there's a late ball over the top and the defence stops and they run through. I wouldn't have put anything past those officials tonight. They were pretty awful, to be honest. It's just like you say, it's just completely deflating. I mean, the first half performance was bad. The refereeing performance was bad, and you can almost take that. That's kind of par for the course, but the Dack injury on top of that. I think just to touch on Travis, I think it's an impact injury that I get the impression, hopefully, touch wood, that's an impact injury. He'll be back next game. Obviously, nowhere near as serious as what Dack looks like. Yeah, just so... I'm sure we'll come on to how it affects the kind of wider, bigger, long-term picture of the club at the minute. That those kind of 2 minutes as we go into extra time could have such a massive bearing on the club now for the next maybe 1-2 years. I'm really trying not to talk about the referees, but it's so difficult. I thought in terms of the first half, when he doesn't give the free kick on Brereton after 90 seconds, is it, down in that corner where he goes tumbling, he doesn't give it, and then he gives the penalty for. I mean, Lenihan's not even kind of dangled a leg. He's literally turned and the guy's gone over. He's fouled someone with his knee without actually kind of kneeing somebody. It's just, and the referee's so quick to give that. And fair enough, if he sees that as a penalty, brilliant. But you've got to stick to that for the whole game. You've got to give the one on Brereton. You've got to give the 50-50s that you're giving against us. And the one on Nyambe, I mean, Sky were trying their best to argue it wasn't the ref's fault for not seeing it. Oh, there's a body in the way. Maybe he's not seen it. He's got a linesman on that side. The linesman has the clearest view of anybody in the country of that, and he can't put his flag up. And it was exactly the same on Tuesday when Brereton went down. Linesman's on that side, doesn't put his flag up. And for me, it's the linesman as much as the ref. The ref was just poor all night for me. He was kind of toss a coin, Brentford's decision every time. I'll probably get pelters for this, but the one that he gave against Buckley in the first half, where he slides in, and I think it was Winston Reid slides in, Buckley gets there first. His foot's not high, and the guy slides in with his knee, and Buckley gets a free kick against him. I don't understand that. It just seemed like every 50-50 was Brentford's ball. We'll come on to the Dack one. I mean, for me, if a midfielder does that in the middle of the pitch, it's a free kick. So why is it any different in the box for me? I'm just so frustrated tonight. It's difficult to swear not in front of my mum. That's the hardest bit.
Well, you can be excused after a night like tonight. And the John Buckley one with Winston Reid, we picked up on it on the watch along, and you've just used the words 50-50. If it's 50-50, don't give anything. Let play go on. Because I actually think they went into each other together. Buckley certainly didn't deserve a yellow card out of that. So that was just one of those strange decisions, wasn't it? And we will come on to the ref very shortly. I don't want to focus on that. Ollie, I'm going to come to you. Hopefully you're sat on your seat now and not shutting doors and adjusting coats. Sum up your thoughts again, if you can. I know it's hard. We'll come on to Bradley Dack in a moment, but just up until that point, the Rovers' performance, particularly after the last two, which were better. You know, how you feeling up until that point?
Yeah, I was going to, fighting fires with cats in my room, but I'll compartmentalise, because I know we're going to talk about the referees and we're going to talk about Dack specifically. Just on the game, to kind of put all of that completely to one side, I was really disappointed. We've played really well against Brentford at home in the last couple of seasons, and I thought overall we were relatively poor across most of the game. It was a little bit better in the second half. It was a bit disappointing really. I think having done so well for 2 matches. I think Tribal makes quite a bad error giving the ball away. At least it's not a penalty. Like, it just isn't a penalty, but we'll go into that more, I think. But it still came from an error. Nyambe's badly out of position. He also has a really poor game overall. Douglas was really poor again. I don't know. I don't think we necessarily looked that tired. It didn't feel tired. It sort of felt more back to the frustrations of February. I wasn't watching the game thinking, oh, Brentford looked really fresh because we look comparatively tired. I just think maybe they just had a bit more time they'll have analysed our last 2 games, known that Armstrong wasn't going to play, looked at the Dolan high pressing, Brereton and Gallagher wide, and Tribal sitting deep, and they seem to just have our number. I felt in the first half, and exactly as you say, I felt we were at arm's length the entire game. Really, it was a little bit better in the second half, but I was shocked at. It's not as if Brereton and Gallagher are hot strikers that score every game, but they're joint second and third, along with Elliott, as our second top goal scorers, and they are strikers, and they offer a bit of height and physicality along the front line, and to remove both just felt a little bit naive. It has no relevance to his injury whatsoever, but I think those 2 coming off meant Dack was playing 90 minutes, which is obviously I don't think he's done since being back from injury. That has no bearing on the fact that he got injured, but it was just felt, take one off and then see how it goes for 10, 15 minutes. And then if you want to make another change, we've gone over this so many times before, but when you leave ourselves with sort of a very technical, diminutive front line, we're sort of looking at a sort of total football eye of the needle type goal. We had a couple of little half moments, and Rothwell seems to have this ability to just never actually strike the ball hard, and probably should have scored. But you were even across the first half, whenever we were in attack, Brentford had 8 men around the box. So putting on a lot of technical players, they're going to be even deeper in the second half, and you're relying on scoring by, a very, very good one-touch move that's going to open up that one moment of space. And to be fair, Dack had that moment, and and the keeper just tips it past the post, and we should have had a corner. But that was it really, and Rothwell's half chance that he should really put his foot through it properly. But it's just after those 2 good performances, it was really disappointing to kind of go back to, I don't know, Toney scores the penalty and you just think, right, that's it. I don't see us getting much out of the game, and it's quite, I don't know why it felt so disheartening. And then obviously, wider issues in the game that are sickening really. And, I know we'll go on to them, but if you want comments just on the game, really frustrated. It sort of felt like a bit of a step backwards again, and Mowbray just doing sort of odd things to try and get us points in a game where we're just held at arm's length quite easily across 90 minutes, and the result felt quite inevitable really across most of the second half. But that's not to I'll let us go on to more serious issues than the fact that we lost the match. But that was how I felt about the game specifically.
Yeah, and just before I go into the comments, my own thoughts, I said it, didn't I, about feeling like was at arm's length. I think first half, Brentford they looked fairly comfortable in defence, didn't they? Half time came and I thought Rothwell started to inject some energy into that central midfield area. But it always just felt like Brentford had that break in them. Mbeumo was looking a bit dangerous, etc., etc. Just felt like if they wanted to, they could have scored that second, but didn't feel like they really necessarily needed to. The stats show that we had 3 shots on target, but I think all 3 of those were fairly weak shots that were easy saves for David Raya. They weren't saves that he had to make. So it's just another one of those performances, wasn't it, where we've gone 1-0 down and the team that are 1-0 up just know exactly what to do with us. They've got us in our box. They've got us in our pen, and they can just see that game out. And that was a shame to see, because I was really desperately hoping for the equaliser, and obviously it didn't turn out that way. I will just come into some comments. I'm not going to pick up the Bradley Dack stuff yet, because I'm just going to do that very shortly. I will just pick up some comments on the game, though, if I can. Ryan, on a positive note, thought we played well second half, but lacked the cutting edge, which seems all too familiar in recent months. Ben, the game first half absolutely dire. Second half, a few subs. Rothwell was great. We got more into it. The ref decision ultimately cost us tonight. Bad luck all round. Let's just keep going down. Andy, going to take a while for me to be able to analyse this one. Can't think straight at the moment. Yeah, it's how I feel, Andy. It's a tough post-match stream, I must say. Paul, stand and stare. Dolan was burning up the pitch in his enthusiasm. He needs to learn to pace himself. And yeah, what I saw from Dolan tonight, Paul, was, again, all of that enthusiasm, as you say, but some of that final pass, that final stuff in the final third, I think I saw that exposed for the first time tonight, actually, with Dolan. I thought he had a few passes on at times that he didn't quite do. And that's, 3 games in 6 days is tough. So maybe the fatigue got to him a little bit there. And then let's just have a look further down. Lots of talk about the refereeing, which we will come on to. Gareth, you've given me a positive there. We have a great bunch of talented young players who will only improve next season. Lots to look forward to. Thank you, Gareth. That's a good positive to cling on to right there. So Rovers fans, I have had someone who has answered the call. This has been one of my favourite things to do tonight. Use this little image, incoming call. Here we go. Let's see what happens. We have got Matt. Here he is. It worked. It worked a treat. How you doing, Matt? How you doing?
Yeah. I'm good, guys. How are you?
This one's hard. I'm not going to lie. It's not good, mate. It's not good. I could have easily have said I'm not doing it, but that's doing you all a disservice. We do these streams for a reason. So we're here. We'll do our best. And thank you all for joining us. So, Matt, the floor is yours. What's your points? What do you want to say?
Oh, yeah. Again, another disappointing result in it. It's happened far too often that these sorts of games go against us. I think we played well, certainly in the second half. Joe Rothwell, I think, does need to play more. Certainly needs to start more games. I think when he was introduced in the second half, he certainly give it that extra spark that we sort of like needed going forward. He just seems to pick up the ball in the middle of the park and just seems to kind of just rally with it. Go forward and attack, which is what we need. Again, we fall back on playing. I just do not think that playing Sam Gallagher and Ben Brereton out on the wings are playing to their strengths particularly as well. So you can sort of look at it before the game and thinking, he's just Tony Mowbray. He's going to kind of do the same as what he's done previously and play Gallagher and Brereton out the wings, which is definitely not the kind of the strong points. They've done well. They've tried to do well there, but it's just not really working out, and it's not playing to their strengths. They were saying on Sky after the game, that's just not playing to them 2 types of players' strengths. So it's again, it's just really frustrating. It's a frustrating loss. And I really do think we have got to sort of try and just change the mentality, because it's what now, 1 win in 10. So it's there's got to be some kind of mentality switch. Let's just get through the rest of the season and see where we end up, and see what players we've got left throughout the summer.
Yeah, and 1 win in 10 is not a good run of form, is it, Matt? We're going to talk about Bradley Dack shortly, but that is the statistic right now, and we weren't going to win that game tonight, and we probably weren't going to draw that game tonight either. And they are damning facts for Rovers now, and obviously with Bradley Dack, we've got a different problem that we're going to have to contend with in the summer now, as well as probably losing Adam Armstrong from this side. So, Matt, I guess just a question for you. Is there any players that you want to see more of in this kind of final portion of the season? Maybe anyone from the under-23s that you want to see? Who would you want to be seeing more of?
Yeah, well, I think certainly some of the under-23s have got to be knocking on the door, especially after outclassing Arsenal tonight, 3-0. McBride, the strikers scoring goals for fun. You've got the right back Jack Bale as well. So, Dan Pike, sorry. We've got an absolute glut of talent who just seem to be impressing week in, week out in the under-23s. That certainly Mowbray must have them involved in first team training, giving them the experience. I'd like to see more Rothwell starting, maybe Brereton in a central role. I don't know. I just think he just needs that sort of that central role. And Gallagher as well. I don't know. I really want it to work out for Sam Gallagher here, because he sort of did well in his first spell here. Obviously, I know we got relegated that season, but I would have liked to, hopefully seen more of Sam Gallagher again in a central role, but it just doesn't seem to be falling for him at the moment. So who knows what's going to happen for the rest of the season?
Sure. I'm just going to open it up to Glenn, Alex, or Ollie, just in response to anything that Matt said there. Any additional points, additional views on what Matt said there?
I think I'll jump in if I'll go first. I think
go for it.
The thing for me is Rothwell makes a difference, because he comes on and he picks the ball up on our 18-yard box and ends up on their 18-yard box. He moves you up the pitch, and instead of it taking 10, 20, 30 passes to go 50 yards, he's A to B quite quickly. But I think for me, and I know we all criticised Armstrong, I can't remember which game it was now, for shooting on sight from everywhere, but when was the last time we had a shot from outside the box? I mean, it's very quite kind of, I think Ollie mentioned it, eye of a needle, it's triangles, let's get the ball through to whoever's making that run into the middle. Just pop a shot off. On that pitch, it's a quagmire. I agree, Rothwell's a bit of an enigma for me. He's like, today he comes on and he looks like an absolute world beater, but then probably the last game he started, he probably didn't really contribute much. And I don't know if that's his style of player, the way that we play, that he looks all action when he gets the ball and he's doing what he did tonight and he's driving at defences. But if he's not doing that, he kind of disappears a little bit for me. And I do think he's a quality player. And I think it was at the end of last season, he went on a bit of a goal scoring run and then disappeared at the beginning of this season. I think it's that player management to a degree. On Gallagher, I'm Gallagher's biggest critic, and purely because he didn't take the ball in the corner against Preston that season we got relegated. If he takes the ball in the corner in the 90th minute, whatever it is, we don't get relegated. But I didn't see enough of him in that season to warrant the price that we paid for him. I think we paid over the odds for him because we showed a hand, and we'd said we were interested the year before. We were interested this year. It's quite easy for kind of Southampton to come in and kind of throw that price tag at him. I'm not sure he's a wide striker. We had in the Rovers chat, we were talking about Antonsen the other day, and I think Antonsen's the prototype Gallagher in terms of let's have a striker out wide who's going to bully his way through. But that was League One. This is the Championship. I think tonight Gallagher gets the ball. First minute, he runs at their left back and he doesn't get past him. And for me, as soon as that run doesn't work, it's in his head. Can I beat this fullback? Am I really the right player to be playing out wide? It's kind of, I don't know. I think it's harsh to criticise him for where he plays, Gallagher. But I do feel if we played him through the middle, I'm not sure we'd be much better with him. But I'm happy and hoping to be corrected at some point in the future. He's when he scores, obviously he's brilliant. He has scored more goals this year. I think he's looked a little bit better coming off the bench for me. I think when he starts games, he kind of fades in and out. But coming off the bench, he is a bit of an impact player. So my 2 pence worth.
I'm going to just dive in and just very quickly before we let Matt go. Michael Pearson has just posed something very interesting into the comments, which now we know what we know about Bradley Dack. Chapman recall is a great shout if we could get him, test him. So I'm going to ask just a couple of things, just a quick yes, no. Chapman recall is first part of the question. Harry Chapman new contract. Now we know what we know about Bradley Dack. Second part of the question, yes or no. So Matt, I'll go for you first because you're the guest.
It's a tough choice, isn't it? I'm saying no, purely on the basis that I think that perhaps Chappie's found his level at League One. I know he's doing fabulous at Shrewsbury, and I suppose he is trying to like prove a point that if you do play him, he'll get a goal or he'll make something. But he is playing where we had him perhaps before he got his injury in League One. He was doing brilliant in League One, but again, perhaps he didn't get any opportunities at Championship level. I don't know. Maybe the other guys have their thoughts on him, but for me, I think we should perhaps say he should stay at Shrewsbury till the end of the season and maybe address the contract situation if he fancies staying with Blackburn. That's his.
Yeah. And my apologies to Ben. It was you that said it before, Michael, who said, think I'd recall Chapman now when Michael was responding to your comments. So my apologies, Ben. It was your suggestion. Alex, what's your thoughts on Chapman?
I think it's a little bit reactionary based on the injury to Dack tonight. I think we've probably caught without Dack for a little bit of this season with Armstrong in the side. So I don't think we could recall him actually with the rules of the transfer, but I don't think it would be best for Chapman if we did actually. I think he's, as Matt said, I think he's found his level at League One. It's no shame for any player to find their level at League One level. I wish I could play football at that level. And he looks like a player that, is in that kind of zone at the minute. So I'd let him see out the season at Shrewsbury, and in terms of new contracts, etc., I'm not privy to whether there's a year's extension or anything like that within the contract, which could maybe influence things a little bit. I think it's much easier to maybe extend an existing contract by a year than it is to negotiate a new year, particularly if there'll be any debate around amount of game time or wages being different to what they are now. So I think that's quite a fluid situation. If you could extend it by a year, potentially, yes, I'd probably trigger a year's extension. If it involved a negotiation of multiple years, I don't think that's in the best interest of either side.
Cool. Ollie, what's your thoughts on Harry Chapman?
No, I wouldn't recall him this season. I think the circumstances wouldn't favour kind of, he seems to be a bit of a confidence kind of player, that he's gone to Shrewsbury down into a lower division and is doing really well. And I think you just need to leave that situation for him to do as well as he can. And, a reactionary recall, if it was something that could be done to say, Harry, you're back to fill a hole and, we need you. And then that first game he gets brought on as a sub and it's like, right, you need to do something now. And you're sort of just putting unnecessary pressure on a player that's now, thriving and playing regularly. Like, that's what he needs to do. He needs to be playing in every game for Shrewsbury and score as many goals as he can, take on lots of players, get crosses in the box, get assists, and come back and have a pre-season with us. And let's see if he's going to do something for us next season. For me, I was just going to highlight. Andy Tubb. I really liked his comment at 10:50, which kind of plays into kind of our general attack. I I think we spend a lot of live streams sort of broadly talking around this issue. I think it's a really good comment. It's kind of quite neatly sums up the fact that we have all these conversations, because it's just a bit of a mixed bag, with the question mark over where Adam Armstrong is next season, and we just don't really have sort of a cemented setup. And you only look at oh yeah, I was getting a bit of feedback. No, and you just sort of just relating it to tonight. You just watch a player like Ivan Toney, who just provides. You know, he was as expensive as Sam Gallagher, cheaper than Brent Brereton. Holds the ball up, creates chances for other people, scores lots of goals himself, and you just sort of, it's so nice to just be able to build attack around something like that. And that, that comment from Andy is just we just don't have that like cemented identity in the final thirds this season. And Chapman's not the answer at the moment for me.
Thanks, Ollie. Glenn, I'm not going to go to you just so that we just keep the show moving along. So what I will say just very quickly, those players that Andy has listed there, 3 of those are not going to be playing for Rovers next season, most likely. So we're probably going to have Brio, Galley and Dolan. So that might end up being the majority of it next season, unless we can find a striker to replace Adam Armstrong, of course. And the other thing I'll say is just thank you, Matt, for dialing in and being part of the show and helping us out, because I said at the start, this one was most certainly the hardest one of the season. So you've come in and help us have some good other discussions. So I just want to say thank you to you, Matt.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. So via the magic of StreamYard, I will go whoosh, and there he goes. We've lost Matt from the stream there, and really grateful for all of you that dial into the show. We'll keep doing that. So just before we go on to the main news tonight, Glenn, I'm just going to come on to you. I've just swapped the order around slightly. Let's just talk about the refereeing performance. Couple of really big decisions. The Brentford penalty and the potential Rovers penalty. I've managed to find a little image of the potential Rovers penalty, which is there. I think it was Norgard, wasn't it? The defender or Norsgaard, however you say his name, with his hands all over Ryan Nyambe. Aside from the fact that the real big news is he stopped Ryan Nyambe from getting his first goal for Rovers, and we all absolutely riot. This one is an absolute stonewall penalty, isn't it? So that's the first thing to ask you. And then secondly, the Brentford one, that was never a penalty in a million years. So just sum up your thoughts on the 2 penalties and just the overall refereeing performance.
I mean, the Nyambe one, my only kind of defence of the referee is in his head he's thinking, well, Nyambe's going to miss anyway if he gets there because he's never scored. That's the only defence I can have for it. It's just... I mean, that image there, I mean, the ref can argue, I can't really quite see that. He can see Nyambe going to ground there much more clearly than he can see any contact on Lenihan for the first one. It's just a baffling decision. I mentioned before, the linesman is literally stood on a line with that. There's no one blocking the linesman's view from there because Nyambe is our furthest player forward on that side. And I can't understand how the linesman hasn't given it. The referee was shambolic for the game, and I think there's a Sky tweet about the result, and the comments on that, not just from Rovers fans, just from Championship fans in general, was how on earth have Brentford won that? I mean, it's just so soft, that penalty, that first one. I wasn't listening to it with the commentary at that point, and I saw the player go down, and I saw Lenihan with his arms in the air, and then I see the ref give the decision, and I'm baffled, and I just. The penalty claims we've had turned down this week. I mean, there's the Nyambe one there. I argued before the one on Dack, I think, is a penalty. And the one midweek on Brereton, where he's just barged off the ball as he goes into the box, all waved away. Yet that one's given. The one on Tuesday is given for Swansea. It just baffles me. And I know Alex mentioned about VAR before, but I'm at a point now where we're on the wrong end of a lot of decisions where I'd take the law of averages that we'd do better out of VAR. Just, you think Luton away, 2 in the space of a minute, was it? 2 Stonewall penalties not given. The one midweek, not given, they get a penalty. Tonight, Stonewall one, not given, they get a penalty. I just thought the ref was just shambolic from start to finish. I mean, I may as well turned it off after 3 minutes. I said it earlier. He doesn't give the one on Brereton. He gives the penalty. I've just spent the rest of the game waiting for the referee to kind of make a bad decision. I mean, he doesn't book the guy on Gallagher in the first half, where Gallagher's turning away and running. He's braking. The guy pulls him down. No card, just a free kick. Yet he books Buckley in the second half when there's a line of defence behind him and he's kind of tussling at him. I'm not saying the Buckley one's not a booking, but the Brentford one is as well, and it's early on. And it was one of those games where you see all those kind of niggly fouls that the ref gives against them, and you know for a fact the first tackle we make is going to be a booking. And it's just, you could almost see it happening, and that's what's so frustrating. And it just winds me up, and I hate blaming the referee for a performance and a result. And it pales into insignificance tonight as the result of the referee's performance. But I truly believe if we're at 1-1 late on and he gives the penalty against Nyambe, Bradley Dack isn't jumping the advertisement hoarding and chasing that ball down. He's getting back into position. We're settling at least for a point. We're not chasing a game at 110 miles an hour. And it's gut-wrenching is the best way to put it. It's so avoidable on every level, just with a decent bit of officiating, just some I don't know, consistency. Instead of being consistently bad, just be consistent both ways. That's what really frustrates me. And I think Championship referees have got worse. And I think the fact that if a Premier League referee does poorly, he gets demoted to the Championship, well, that tells you the respect they have for the Championship in terms of officials. So for me, he'll kind of dust himself off. He'll go home, have a nice sleep, get up and run around tomorrow, giving some more poor decisions. And there'll be no kind of accountability to it. He'll keep picking up his paycheck and he won't have to explain his decisions. And I think that's the key one for me. I think there was a video I did the rounds last week, and I think it might have been the Australian ref that came over to the Championship a couple of years ago, and he was mic'd up for the game and he's explaining his decisions as he goes. And yet you have to be able to have that. You have to be able to understand. You'd think the referees would want it. They could come out afterwards and say, well, I've not given that because I didn't see it. My linesman didn't flag. Fair enough. You've missed it. But the fact that they just carry on giving these poor decisions, they're never called out on it, they're never asked to justify the decision, it just really winds me up. If I made decisions like that at work, I'd get sacked. And my job's not worth the same amount of money as Championship football is. That's the crux of it.
No, absolutely. And that is the only airtime the refs getting tonight, because I want to get on to kind of the big news of tonight. But my views, the Brentford one absolutely was not a penalty. The Rovers one was a penalty. You're absolutely right. The linesman could have given that, but just weak assistant refereeing, wasn't it there? Why is he not flagging that? I don't know. And just overall, just all the little nitty-gritty stuff, the fouls that could have gone Rovers' way, the 50-50 stuff. It was just an infuriating refereeing performance. So, we certainly didn't get helped out tonight. I'm not blaming the ref, but we certainly weren't helped out. So that is all the airtime that he is getting. So we are going to move on to the saddest part of this evening. I've just been, whilst everyone's been talking and doing things, I've just been looking around on Twitter and everything. And sadly, it does look like that Bradley Dack has suffered another anterior cruciate ligament injury. Looks like it's the other knee than the one that he did. And it sounds like it's a very emotional place at Ewood Park tonight. So Alex, sorry, I'm going to come to you first. Just give me your thoughts on how you're feeling. And just whilst you're talking and whilst everyone's talking from this point onwards, just going to scroll the stuff on the bottom that I've just found about this injury, because I think it just will sum up everyone and just, the heartfelt reaction that there's been to this. So, Alex, just let us know how you're feeling.
Well, I'm just absolutely sick and physically sick about it. Just pick out any word what you want to come up with. What I would say about ACLs in particular is that once you've done one ACL, that slight weakness in the one knee means you put a bit more pressure on the other leg, and it makes it that much easier that the other ACL also gives way, and it certainly looks like that's what might have happened tonight. I'm more concerned for the welfare of the player. I think to see some of the rehab that he had to go through for an extended period of time during the lockdown as well, and everything that everyone's had to deal with COVID, just the mental strength that he'll need to show to do that all over again and start back from square one. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine what that feels like for a footballer. And I think with Dack, why we all love Bradley Dack is when he first came in and after the relegation, he just has that kind of effervescent spirit and character and way of playing, and he kind of lifts the whole place up with him. And to think that won't be there again for such a long period of time is really, really gutting. I think what I will say, and I think one of the more pertinent points that Matt raised, was the fact that we've won 1 in 10 games now. And I know Glenn referenced this earlier as well, that, you know, with Dack potentially out for another year, I mean, let's be honest, it could be another year now. And the potential of Armstrong also leaving this summer, I'm very, very worried about where the club goes next season, what the club does in terms of the recruitment side of the business, in terms of how we find the goals to keep us in this league. Because I think if you take away the goals that Armstrong has scored without any goals from Dack to counterweight that, I think this club is walking on a tightrope in many ways. And I'm just extremely concerned and worried that the club is in a bit of a low ebb at the minute, and on a bit of a downward trajectory. And it makes me worried and nervous for next season. So, yeah, there's just a multitude of emotions running around through my head at the minute. But yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is that I think we've all got to accept that if Dack ever gets on a football pitch again, that he might not ever return to what we've seen before. And I don't think we'll ever see the Bradley Dack that we've seen in the last 3 years again. And that's, you know, incredibly upsetting. You know, it really is.
And Ollie, you know, I've just got reactions here. So Elliot Bennett, we all hate losing, but tonight the football match becomes insignificant when you see one of your brothers hurt. My thoughts and love with you. Rich Sharp, felt all manner of emotions leaving Ewood before, but just numb tonight. Stay strong, Brad. And then Jacob, who's not a Rovers fan, absolutely heartbroken for him. It's not me sick. And, you know, with what Alex was saying there, if we just think about when Bradley Dack came into this football club, you know, we'd been relegated into League One, and, you know, the fans needed a hero. We needed a talisman. We needed someone to get behind. We needed just that real kind of core to the club. And Bradley Dack has been that. And we've been through this once with the injury that he got against Wigan. And we've all been gearing up to Adam Armstrong leaving, who we've all loved over this last season. So you're kind of pinning all your hopes on Bradley Dack next season. This is just emotionally terrible for everyone. And the fact that Jacob's absolutely gut-wrenched with it, and he's a Birmingham fan as well, you know, have you got any concerns about the impact this might have on the squad or the players or anything like that? You know, what do you think?
Yeah, I do. I was watching on Sky Go, and just before we went live, I was watching, I mean, you saw the Sky cameras had Mowbray leaning over the stretcher and obviously exchanging words with him. But the look on his face, and then the way he spoke in his post-match interview, and it's the kind of thing. He's a talismanic player. Like Alex is right. He said it after the last game. He brings tenacity and emotion to the pitch, and it seems very obvious. None of us are in the dressing room, but you look at the League One season and the subsequent seasons in the Championship, and he's just a big character, and football is his life. And we coped without him for a year, and luckily Adam Armstrong scored lots of goals. And Alex is right that it's going to be a year, and probably at best, if it is an ACL. That's hard. I think it's hard. I think it's hard for it to happen once to your best player, for it to happen again after he's played, what is it? I can't even think, 10 games since coming back, something like that. For it to happen again. Mowbray was saying that the dressing room's distraught. He's in there and he's on gas, and Olivia's already on her way to Ewood Park. Reality TV is reality TV, but I watched Olivia meets her match, and it gives you a little window into their life, and he really struggled with that recovery. Like, it's reality TV, but he struggled. That seemed quite obvious, and even with the little setbacks, and then you saw, those little moments when he got to play for his, his first game in the reserves and what it means to him. You worry about him personally, and the battle he faces, both physically and mentally, to come back, and how he will come back. And there's a big challenge for Mowbray and all of the coaching staff to, they've got to cope with it, and plan for plan for a year without him, but also, deal with the rest of the squad who, he just seems like best friends with all the players. The relationships he has with everyone, and yeah, it's difficult. It's a really difficult evening, and yeah, I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of all the time I've supported Rovers to have a player, to have such an integral player, have that happen twice, and just both in like two such like innocuous situations as well. I mean, talk about bad luck for one guy. No, absolutely gut wrenching. I'll let Glenn have his say. Just feel for everything around the club and for him, and all of us as fans. It's a grim evening, really, really grim.
So just while you were talking, Ollie, I managed to just search on Twitter, and now I'm just rolling it on the bottom. So Bradley Dack on Instagram has now responded, and I'm just scrolling it across the bottom. So Bradley has said, tough times don't last, tough people do. I will live and die by saying this. Thanks for all the messages. I will get back to you all. So if you haven't sent Bradley Dack a message, do it. Let's just show him that this club is behind him. We've seen what he's put into the club and into his own recovery over the last year. We've seen it even on that reality TV show. We saw him doing it. You could see the work that he was putting in. He's worked his damn hardest, and he'll do it again. And maybe the last year has taught him a bit of mental strength about how to get through that again. And maybe we will see the player that we did again. So let's all give him some support and show him that we want him to be that player again. Even though that'll be tough for him, who better than Bradley Dack to go and do that? So everyone send him a message if he's going to get back to everyone. Let's show him what Blackburn Rovers is all about, because this has hurt us all tonight, and it's hurt him, and he's our talisman, isn't he? So Glenn, I'm just going to probably give you the final word if I can, because you are my positive go-to person. You are the one that can make us smile and retrieve this weekend. Talk about Bradley Dack first, and how you're feeling about things, and then just give us something just to be positive about and look forward to.
I'll try my best. I think with Dack, I remember the Wigan game last season, and he just, like Ollie said, it's kind of his life is football, and that's it for me. To me, it's the more the mental side for him than the physical side. He's proved over the last 12, 18 months that he can come back from an ACL and he can score goals in the Championship. He can still impact on games. For me, the physical side, I mean, Alex will probably correct me on this from a more medical background, but it's the mental side for me. It's the, God, I've been through this once and it's not even been 6 months. Maybe it's just over 6 months and I've got to do it all again, all on the other knee. That's the thing for me. It's that tweet's fantastic. I think the fact that he's already saying about what he said about tough times don't last, tough people do, that's positive for me. He's already thinking that kind of, this isn't the end of me. I'm still coming back, and yeah, I'm gutted for him. I watched 𝐒𝐿𝐓𝐄𝐑𝐒 match. I'm not embarrassed to say that. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing a bit of Bradley when he wasn't on the football pitch, but you could see every setback he got hit him, and it was that compression on his leg again. And you could see he was gutted not to be out there. And I think on that show, it showed that first tackle. Was it Everton we played at Sheffield United? And someone went straight through the front of him and he got straight back up. And you thought, if he's got up from that mentally, that's a great sign. I just think I'm absolutely gutted for him. I can't say any more than, gutted. I think in terms of what he means for Rovers, I think it says it all that he's still on the comeback from that injury. And he's chasing the goalkeeper down at full pelt at that time of the game to get us a point almost, to try and nick us a goal. That's his commitment for the club. And I think as fans, we're all committed to him. We're all behind him and whatnot. And like you say, send your messages to him. It can only do good. In terms of positives, I'm trying to think of players that have done the same thing twice and come back and been as good. I mean, Shearer was in his prime when he did his first ACL and he came back and he was just as good as, if not better than before. Gallagher, Kevin, not Sam. He broke his leg, came back, scored, broke his leg again, and he still came back. So that there's history there, and yeah, he's a fantastic player. For me, he's kind of, in terms of ability and flair and what he brings to the fans, he's up there with Two-Guy for me. In terms of, he gets you off your seat, he's nutmegging people, he's doing the silky things. Obviously he's not done it in the Premier League, but for me, he's on that trajectory, and it's just absolutely gutting to see that he's kind of taken out of the game again today. And we're not going to see him. Fingers crossed. Let's cross everything. Pray it's not as bad as we think, but from the looks of it, it kind of is. So yeah, in terms of positives, we don't have to watch any more football this weekend. We can kind of knock that on the head for this weekend. Put it in the box till next weekend and go again. Have we got a game midweek? In fact, I should have looked at that. Are we playing midweek? In which case, just till midweek.
Bristol City.
Yeah. Put it on the head till Wednesday. But like you say, it's another chance for people to step up, look at the positives. You mentioned Harry Chapman before. Harry Chapman, for me, he's a fantastic League One player in terms of Championship. I don't think he does enough going the other way defensively for Mowbray. I think he'd much prefer a kind of a big Sam Gallagher tracking back and tackling rather than Harry Chapman with a bit of a license out wide. If he did come back, I'm not sure he's going to start games. But he's going to have to change again. Now I'm saying, I was glad that we weren't playing with Armstrong. Now I'm hoping Armstrong's back for the next game and we have that option back. We have to change again. We have to go again. In terms of what it looks like for the next couple of years, it's massively up in the air now. I don't want to bring the Mowbray chat back up again, but for me, it's the kind of what we're looking at next year kind of changes now in terms of if Dack's injured and he's out for 12 months and we're kind of looking at Armstrong, we keep being told we don't need to sell our assets. I think we'd still be silly not to sell Armstrong for the money that's being talked about, but we have to recalibrate what our expectations are for next season and bring in those youngsters through and maybe giving the under-23s a bit of a go. It's a bit of a, I don't know, it's a bit of a crash back down to earth in more ways than one tonight. We've had a couple of good results. I thought we deserved a point at least tonight. I thought we deserved at least 3 points midweek. The way we'd played, it just seems like we've gone on this bad run where we haven't won for so long, and then we have a couple of positive results, and then it just feels like we're back to that losing run again now in more ways than one. So trying to be positive. I saw it in the comments about me being a wine connoisseur. I'm not a wine connoisseur. I have given up beer for Lent, not because I'm in any way religious, just because of the lockdown timber. So I have taken to hitting the wine instead. So sure, I'd be better on beer, to be honest. But cheapest, most discounted bottle in the shop. That's my key for getting wine. Don't go for the cheapest, go for the most discounted. That's my Glenn's thought of the night, if you want to pick yourself up.
Good on you, Glenn. The only manager talk that I am going to do tonight, Paul summed it up in his comment earlier, and you've just mentioned it there, Glenn. This injury, it sounds really daft to say, has just completely changed my mindset on the manager and Rovers next season as well. And Paul's put this here. I think we need a fallow year, get the youngsters out to learn and grow, keep wise heads if we can. And I agree, Paul. You cannot cope as a football club with losing Adam Armstrong and losing Bradley Dack for a year. We need to be bloody realistic about what happens next, and probably need to accept that maybe we won't make the playoffs. And if this is where we're going to be with that fallow year, if it is a fallow year that we're all bought into, Toney Mowbray is the right man to do that. If you still think that this squad can make the playoffs, even with Bradley Dack injured, then maybe Mowbray's not your man. But I'm in the former camp. I think Bradley Dack being injured next season, and he will be, based on the injury that he's got, he's going to be out for the majority of the season. That just recalibrates where I think Rovers are going to be next season. So it's really shifted my mindset, actually. And what a bloody roller coaster this is. So I'm going to need to process that a little bit and just see where I am. I still stand by the fact that I don't think Toney is the one to take us up. But am I expecting that as a fan now with what we've got and with Bradley Dack injured? Maybe I'm not expecting that either. So maybe Toney is the man just to see us through this little period. So I'm just going to think about that a little bit. I'm going to process it a little bit. But a fallow year, what Glenn said about recalibration, I think we're definitely in that territory now. This is a big, big injury for Blackburn Rovers. Make no mistake about it. It was a big injury when it happened. And it's a big injury this time, and it'll be a bigger injury this time round because Adam Armstrong is likely not to be at the club to score the goals and fill the void that Bradley Dack left. So we need to be realistic about what's going to happen next season. So positives, Glenn. Oh God, we need some positives. It's Saturday tomorrow. You've got the whole weekend. You can go for a walk. You can watch football. You can get more drunk tonight, like what I'm going to do. There's your positives. That's what I'm saying. So, Ollie, Alex, Glenn, thank you for joining us on the show tonight. And we made it an hour. We made it over an hour. I said, let's make this 30 minutes, 45 minutes and be done with it. Absolutely hats off to the three of you for everything you've said tonight. Thank you to Matt for joining us on the show. And thank you all, our viewers, for joining us on the show as well. You've stayed with us solidly all night and you've made this bearable. I am absolutely devastated about Bradley Dack. I'm probably going to secretly go back in the house and cry after all of this. But thank you all for your company. It's hard to put into words what's happened tonight. So let's all sleep on it and see what happens next. Thank you once again to Dave and to Simon for your support on the watch along with the super chats. Thank you to all of you that joined us on the watch along with your setups and for tweeting those to the Rovers chat account as well. We will be back early next week, so I'll be on the other side on Monday night. It's a Tuesday night game next week, isn't it? I need to check. I think it's Tuesday. So I'll be back on the other side with our Bristol City fan on Monday night, and then we will be back for the watch along and the post-match live stream on Tuesday night as well. I'll just do this in a different order this time now. Thank you to Blue Rose Capital for your very, very kind sponsorship. I'll finish with 6yardsout.com, but I will just finish the stream with saying from everyone at Blackburn Rovers and all of the fans of Blackburn Rovers Football Club, Bradley Dack, get well soon. We are all behind you. We love you, Bradley Dack. You are our talisman and you will come back stronger. Absolutely. So we will see you back at Ewood Park soon, no doubt. Thanks very much and have a good rest of your weekend, everyone. The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.